My daughter ghosted me, so I let her ex-husband know about the inheritance first. The silence on the other end of the phone that day felt heavier than death itself. I had called my daughter Lily 10 times, and each time, the call went straight to voicemail. I even tried sending her a message on WhatsApp, but those 2 gray ticks never turned blue. She had seen nothing. Or maybe she had, and simply chosen to ignore me. I sat in my quiet living room, staring at the family picture on the wall. Lily in her wedding gown, smiling so bright that day that even my heart felt proud of her. But that was 3 years ago. Now, I was just a name she once used to call Mom. So, I did what no mother ever dreams of doing. I folded the inheritance notice, slipped it into an envelope with her ex-husband's name, Daniel Green, and mailed it to his address instead. Yes, I let her ex-husband know about the inheritance first. When he called me the next morning, his voice trembled. "Mrs. Miller, are you sure about this?" he asked. I took a deep breath. "She doesn't pick up my calls anymore, Daniel. But you always did." And that's when everything changed, because what Daniel told me next shattered the tiny pieces of my heart I had left. But let's go back to where it all began. It all started 2 years earlier, when Lily's marriage began to fall apart. She had been married to Daniel for 4 years. I always thought he was a good man, quiet, respectful, and deeply in love with her. But Lily thought he was too soft. She said he didn't match her ambition. When she finally told me she wanted a divorce, I tried to talk her out of it. Marriage isn't always sweet, Lily. Sometimes it's bitter, but that doesn't mean you throw it away. She rolled her eyes. "Mom, you don't understand. I want a man who can match my energy." They divorced quietly. No drama. No fights. Daniel just walked away heartbroken. After that, Lily became distant. At first, she'd still visit me on weekends. Then it became phone calls. Then texts. And then nothing. I blamed myself. Maybe I'd said something wrong. Maybe I'd taken Daniel's side too much. Maybe Lily thought I loved him more than her. But all I ever wanted was peace between them. Months passed. My health started to fail. I was diagnosed with a heart condition that made me weak. The doctor said I should avoid stress, but how could I? My only child had turned her back on me. One rainy afternoon, I decided to call her again. The phone rang once, then cut off. I called again, blocked. That's when I realized it wasn't a mistake. She had truly cut me off. That night, I cried like a child. I remembered how I used to hold her when she had nightmares, how she'd sneak into my bed as a little girl whispering, "Mommy, don't ever leave me." And now, she was the one who had left me. The next day, I went to my lawyer. I had been working on my will for months. My little house, some savings, and my late husband's land were all to go to Lily. But sitting there, signing those papers, I felt something break inside me. "I want to make a small change," I told the lawyer. "What kind of change?" he asked. "Send the inheritance notice to her ex-husband first. Daniel Green. He should be aware of it before Lily." The lawyer looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "Are you sure you want to do that, Mrs. Miller?" "Yes," I said, forcing a smile. "He's the only one who still picks up my calls." 2 weeks later, the notice was sent. And 3 days after that, Daniel showed up at my doorstep, drenched in rain, holding the envelope in his hand. He looked just like he did years ago, kind, gentle, and sad. "Mrs. Miller," he said softly, "I got your letter. But before we talk about that, there's something you need to know about Lily." I froze. "What about her?" He hesitated, then looked down. "She didn't just ghost you, ma'am. She's been living a life you wouldn't believe. And the reason she blocked you, it's not what you think." My heart pounded in my chest. "What do you mean?" I asked. He sighed. "Lily's in trouble, Mrs. Miller. Serious trouble." I gripped the armrest of my chair. "What kind of trouble, Daniel?" But before he could answer, there was a loud knock on the door, heavy and urgent. Daniel's face turned pale. "Oh no, they found me." I blinked in confusion. "Who found you?" He didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed my hand and whispered, "Please don't open the door." The knocking grew louder, almost like pounding now, and the voice outside shouted my name. "Mrs. Miller, open up. We know he's inside." And that was when I realized, whatever my daughter had gotten herself into, her ex-husband was part of it too. The pounding on the door grew louder, steady, forceful, and terrifying. Each thud echoed through the house like a warning. "Mrs. Miller, we know he's in there," a man's deep voice shouted again. I could feel my hands trembling as I clutched Daniel's arm. He looked frightened, not just surprised but truly afraid. His eyes darted toward the window as if searching for an escape. "Daniel," I whispered, "who are they? What's going on?" He shook his head. "Please just stay quiet." But the knocking turned into banging, and the voice outside grew angrier. "If you don't open this door, we'll come in ourselves." I took a deep breath and tried to gather my courage. I was a 72-year-old woman, tired, frail, and confused, but it was still my house. "I'll open it," I said firmly. Daniel grabbed my wrist. "No, you don't understand. They're not police." That stopped me cold. "Not police? Then who were they?" Before I could ask again, the front door burst open. Two men stormed in, tall, muscular, wearing black jackets soaked from the rain. One of them pointed straight at Daniel. "There you are," the man hissed. "You thought you could hide forever?" I gasped, stepping back, clutching my chest. "What's happening? Who are you people?" The second man glared at me. "Stay out of this, old lady. This doesn't concern you." "Don't you talk to her like that," Daniel barked, stepping in front of me. "You want me, not her." The first man laughed coldly. "Oh, we'll take what we came for. You owe us money, Green. A lot of it." My knees went weak. "Money?" I whispered. Daniel looked down, shame washing over his face. "I'll pay you. Just not here. Please, not in front of her." "Too late for that," one of the men said, shoving him hard against the wall. I cried out. "Stop it. Please. He's telling the truth." The taller man turned to me again, his expression softening slightly. "You have no idea who this man really is, do you?" "I know he's my daughter's ex-husband," I said shakily. He smirked. "Then you should also know he's the reason she disappeared." My blood ran cold. "What?" The man sneered. "Ask him about the money he took from her before he ran away." I turned slowly toward Daniel. His eyes were filled with pain and regret. "It's not what they're saying," he murmured. "Then what is it?" I demanded. "Did you steal from Lily?" He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could answer, the men grabbed him and dragged him toward the door. "Wait!" I screamed. "Leave him alone." They shoved past me and disappeared into the stormy night, their car screeching down the road. I was left standing in the doorway, rain splattering my nightgown, my heart pounding in confusion and fear. I didn't know whether to call the police or call Lily, the daughter who hadn't spoken to me in months. My hands shook as I picked up the phone. I dialed her number once more, praying she'd answer this time. But once again, the same cold message echoed. "The number you are trying to reach is not available. Please try again later." Tears blurred my vision. I sank into the nearest chair, the echo of Daniel's words replaying in my head. "Lily's in trouble." What kind of trouble could make her vanish from my life? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every shadow in my room felt like someone watching. Every sound outside made me jump. By morning, I decided I couldn't sit still any longer. I needed answers. So I did the only thing a desperate mother would do. I went looking for Daniel. The police said they hadn't received any reports about him. No arrest. No witnesses. No one had seen two men in black jackets. It was as if they had vanished into thin air. That's when I remembered. Years ago, Daniel and Lily used to rent a small apartment near Maple Street. Maybe someone there knew something. I took a taxi across town, clutching my bag tightly. My heart beat faster with every passing block. When I reached the old apartment building, the rain had started again. The hallway smelled of dust and mold. I knocked on the caretaker's door. An elderly man with a bent back and tired eyes. "Excuse me, sir," I said softly. "I'm looking for someone who used to live here, Daniel Green. Do you remember him?" He squinted, then nodded slowly. "Oh, him. The quiet fellow. Used to live here with his wife. Lily, right?" My breath caught. "Yes. That's my daughter." He frowned. Strange couple they were. One night, I heard them arguing real bad. Next morning, she was gone, and he left a week later. Never came back. What were they arguing about? I asked quickly. The caretaker shrugged. Didn't hear everything, but I caught one line clear as day. What did she say? He looked straight into my eyes and said, she told him, if you ever touch that money again, Daniel, I'll make sure you regret it for life. My knees almost gave way. Money again. Always money. What money? I asked, my voice trembling. The caretaker just shook his head. No idea, ma'am. But the look on that girl's face that night, she was scared. Real scared. I left the building with my mind spinning. The rain soaked my clothes, but I barely felt it. If Daniel had taken something from Lily, then why would he come to my house acting worried about her? Why risk his life to warn me? None of it made sense, until I got home and found the envelope sitting on my kitchen table. The same inheritance envelope I had sent to Daniel. Only now, there was a note attached in red ink. It said, Mrs. Miller, if you want to see your daughter again, do not contact the police. I froze, the room spinning around me. My daughter? Alive? But in danger? I clutched the note to my chest, shaking, as one terrible thought filled my mind. Whoever took Daniel had Lily too. The note trembled in my wrinkled hands as I read it again and again. Mrs. Miller, if you want to see your daughter again, do not contact the police. Each word felt like ice sliding down my spine. My daughter, the same daughter who had ignored me for months, was alive but in danger. And somehow, Daniel's disappearance was tied to it. I sank into my armchair, clutching the paper so tightly that my fingers hurt. My mind raced in circles. Who would send such a message? Why not ask for money right away? Why warn me about the police? My heart pounded, weak and uneven, and I reached for my medicine. I placed one tiny white pill on my tongue, whispering a shaky prayer. Lord, please, please don't let anything happen to Lily. As the room grew silent, I noticed something odd. The handwriting on the note, it wasn't from a printer. It was handwritten, and though it was messy, something about it felt familiar. I reached for my reading glasses and held the note under the lamp. Then my breath caught. The way the M curved in Mrs. Miller was exactly how Daniel used to write. Was it him? Was this his warning? Or was someone forcing him to write it? I decided to check the envelope again. There was mud on the edges, fresh mud. Whoever had dropped it off must have come to the house recently. That meant someone had been here while I was asleep. A chill ran down my back. I stood up and checked the windows. The kitchen one was slightly open, the curtains fluttering in the wind. I remembered closing them before bed. Someone had been inside. I locked every door and window, my hands shaking. Then I picked up my phone and scrolled through old numbers. I couldn't call the police. The note had warned me. But there was one person I trusted more than anyone. Henry, my late husband's younger brother. A retired detective. When he answered, his voice was rough and sleepy. Martha? What's wrong? Henry, I whispered. Someone broke into my house last night. And I think Lily's in trouble. That woke him up. Slow down. Tell me everything. I told him about Daniel's visit, the strange men, and the note. He didn't interrupt, just listened in silence. When I finished, there was a long pause. Martha, he said finally, I think you've stumbled into something dangerous. Don't panic. I'll drive down to you tonight. Please hurry, I said, fighting back tears. After the call, I sat by the window, watching the rain pour down the empty street. Every sound, every shadow, made me jump. I barely slept until morning. By sunrise, Henry arrived, tall, gray-haired, and serious as ever. He hugged me tightly and then examined the note carefully. This isn't random, he muttered. They're trying to keep you quiet for a reason. Whoever took Lily knows you'd try to find her. I frowned. But why me? I don't even know what she was involved in. Henry sighed. Maybe it's connected to Daniel. You said they mentioned money, right? Yes, I nodded. The men who took him said he owed them. Then that's our clue, Henry said, slipping the note into his coat pocket. We start with Daniel. Someone saw him, someone knows something. We spent the next 2 days asking questions. In cafes, at the post office, even at the bus station. Most people shook their heads. No one had seen Daniel. But then, on the third day, a clue appeared from the most unexpected person. A young woman at a gas station recognized his photo. "Oh yeah," she said, pointing at the picture on Henry's phone. "That guy was here a few nights ago. He looked real nervous. Bought gas and kept checking his rearview mirror." "Did he say where he was going?" I asked quickly. She nodded, muttered something about heading to the cabin near Ridgewood. Then he drove off fast. I froze. Ridgewood. That name hit me like lightning. That was where Lily's father and I used to take her camping as a child. We still owned a tiny cabin out there, though it hadn't been used in years. "Henry," I said, grabbing his arm. "There's only one cabin near Ridgewood I know of ours." He frowned. "You think Daniel went there? Or was taken there?" I whispered. Without wasting another second, we packed Henry's old truck with flashlights, food and a first aid kit. The drive took 2 hours, winding through thick forest roads. My heart beat faster with every mile. When we reached the path leading to the cabin, the road was muddy and narrow. The trees stood tall and dark, their branches like arms reaching out to block our way. Henry parked the car a few meters away, and we continued on foot. The forest was eerily quiet. No birds, no wind, just the sound of our footsteps squelching in the wet ground. As the cabin came into view, my heart nearly stopped. The front door was slightly open. A faint light flickered inside. "Stay behind me," Henry whispered, pulling out his flashlight. We crept closer, my hands clutching his coat. The smell of damp wood and smoke filled the air. When we reached the door, Henry slowly pushed it open. Inside, the living room looked almost untouched, except for one thing. On the old dining table, a photo of Lily and Daniel lay torn in half. Beside it was another note, this time, written in a different hand. It said, "You were warned. Now she pays the price." My knees buckled. Henry caught me before I fell. "She's alive, Martha," he said quickly. "This is a threat, not proof of death. We still have time." But I could barely breathe. My eyes darted around the cabin, searching for anything that could lead us to her. That's when Henry's flashlight landed on the floorboards near the fireplace. The wood was uneven. One plank looked freshly nailed. He knelt down and pried it open with his pocket knife. Inside was a small box wrapped in plastic. "What's this?" I asked, voice trembling. Henry opened it carefully, and inside were several stacks of money, all bundled tightly with rubber bands. Tens of thousands of dollars. "Good Lord," he muttered. "Where did this come from?" I stared at the box, horrified. "Daniel. Lily said she'd make him regret touching that money." Henry looked up sharply. "Then this," he pointed at the box, "is what they're all after." Before I could reply, we heard it, the crunch of tires outside. A vehicle pulling up. Henry quickly shut the box and motioned for me to stay quiet. The headlights shone through the windows, growing brighter. Then a voice called out from the darkness. A voice I hadn't heard in months. "Mom!" It was Lily. I gasped, tears filling my eyes. "Lily!" I whispered, rushing toward the door. But Henry grabbed my arm. "Wait. Something's wrong." Outside, Lily's voice trembled as she called again. "Mom, are you there? Please, open the door." Henry leaned closer to the window, his expression tightening. Then he whispered, "Martha, she's not alone." I froze. "Look behind her," he said. I peeked through the curtain, and my heart stopped. 2 of the same men who had taken Daniel were standing behind Lily, their faces half hidden in the headlights. One of them was holding a gun. My daughter wasn't coming home. She was being brought back as bait. The night Lily returned was the longest night of my life. Standing behind that old cabin door, I could feel my heart hammering against my ribs as I watched my daughter, pale, shaking, and surrounded by danger. Henry's whisper was sharp and low. "Stay quiet, Martha. One wrong move and they'll hurt her." Through the narrow crack in the curtain, I saw one of the men shove Lily forward. She stumbled, clutching her side. The man barked, "Tell your mother to come out. Now." Tears streamed down her face. "Please don't hurt her," she cried. "I'll get the money, I swear." Henry's eyes widened. "The money, she knows about it." I didn't care about danger anymore. I couldn't just stand there watching my child suffer. Before Henry could stop me, I pushed the door open and stepped out into the cold night. Leave her alone. I shouted, my voice trembling but loud. The men spun around, startled. Stay where you are, old lady. One of them barked, raising his gun. Lily screamed, Mom, don't. Please go back inside. But I couldn't. I lifted my hands slowly. If it's money you want, it's here. Inside the cabin. The two men exchanged glances. One of them sneered. You think we're stupid? It's the truth, Henry said, stepping out behind me with the box. This is what you're looking for. The man's eyes locked on the box like a starving wolf spotting prey. Hand it over. Henry tossed the box onto the wet ground. Take it and let the girl go. The man nodded at his partner, who shoved Lily aside and picked up the box. He opened it quickly, grinning at the bundles of cash. Looks like our business is done. But before they could turn, red and blue lights flashed through the trees, sirens blaring. The men froze. Henry smirked. Did you really think I wouldn't call for backup? Police cars swarmed the clearing, their lights slicing through the darkness. Officers jumped out, shouting commands. The two men tried to run, but within seconds they were tackled and handcuffed. Lily collapsed into my arms, sobbing. Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I held her tight, tears mixing with the rain. Shoo, baby. You're safe now. Henry handed the box to one of the officers. That money is evidence. You'll want to hear the whole story. Later, at the station, everything finally came to light. Daniel had once invested in a private business using Lily's savings without telling her. When it failed, he owed dangerous people a fortune. They started threatening him, and Lily, to repay it. In panic, Lily cut ties with everyone, including me, hoping to protect me from their reach. When Daniel realized they'd found her, he came to warn me. But the men caught him first, and used him to lure Lily back out of hiding. She had been running ever since. It took weeks for things to calm down. The men were charged and the money, which turned out to be part of the stolen funds, was returned to the authorities. Daniel was found alive later, beaten but safe. As for Lily, she stayed with me for months after that. Our bond healed slowly, day by day. One quiet evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, she reached for my hand. Mom, she whispered. You had every right to give my inheritance notice to Daniel first. I didn't deserve it after the way I treated you. I smiled faintly. You're my daughter, Lily. A mother's love doesn't stop just because her child makes mistakes. I only wanted you to remember where home is. Tears filled her eyes. I'll never forget again. We watched the last of the sun fade behind the trees, peaceful for the first time in years. The storm had passed, but its lesson would stay with us forever. Because I learned that silence, that awful, painful silence between a parent and child, can destroy more than words ever could. And sometimes it takes losing everything to realize what truly matters. Family, forgiveness, and love that refuses to give up. That night, as I turned off the porch light and looked at Lily sleeping soundly on the couch, I whispered to myself, maybe she ghosted me once, but now she's finally come home.